I have got to say just how excited I am to be able to spend these 9 minutes with you today. I have to tell you, I have a shyness to me, and last year I came into TEDx not knowing what to expect, and I sunk into the back row and was kind of trying to hide here. And slowly but surely, the energy of the day just grew and grew and grew and grew and coaxed me out of my shell. And I kind of found a lot of myself that day. I ended up introducing myself to a lot of people like Craig, like Tony, people who ended up changing my life. And so I'm really grateful to TED for what you do here. I encourage you to introduce yourself to a stranger today because you never know how that connection can impact your life. So what I want to talk about today is the power of connection, connecting both with ourselves and connecting with others. Want to tell you a story. Technology is not my thing here. Want to start off with a little story. This was my gymnastics birthday party. I've always loved to bounce around and move, and ever since I can remember, my dad has called me Peanut. And rethinking that name today, I have kind of realized that I think we are all peanuts. We all have a unique shape and size to us, and that's something that I think we should celebrate. I actually found a lot of kindred spirits already here in the room today, and got to ask you, how many of you, when Alex started to play the My City song, how many of you started to hear a little bit of something inside you that made you start to move, made you start to twirl your pen, tap your foot a little bit? How many of you are doing that? All right, I'm glad you're honest. Thank you, because I actually got up and observed you all while he was playing that song and agree with that number. When I was in first grade, I was very fearful of authority. And I was sitting in my reading class, and the teacher said to us, she was going to take a group aside to read, and she said to us, "Do not interrupt me. No matter what it is, do not interrupt me. I am reading with this group of students. You will sit there and entertain yourselves, and I will not be interrupted." So I was very fearful of this. But back to Alex's talk, I had to pee while she was in her reading group. But I sat there with my fear, and she said not to interrupt her. She said not to interrupt her. So I'm sitting there in my chair, and I didn't want to go and interrupt anyone, didn't want to break the rules. And lo and behold, I ended up peeing in my chair because I was too afraid to get up and express my need. They later found me in my next class and said to me, "Did something happen in your chair?" And I very shamefully had to admit, yes, I was so afraid to speak up for what I needed that I peed in my chair. And that's been a theme that I've been thinking about today. As Alex said, peeing is essential to life. And so how important is it to ask for what we need? How important is it, like Mark said, to find our voice, realize who we are, what we need as we're moving forward? There's a quote I love that says, "Do not ask what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go and do that. For what the world needs is people who have come alive." So I asked myself, how do we do that? How do we find what makes us come alive? There's another quote I love about what that tipping point is. "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." So how do we start to unfold? I again go back to connection, and I think of a couple people in my life who have made that happen for me. I'm not good at this button. Did not have much of a softball career, but my softball coach called me Dynamite. And that was one of the seeds that got me thinking about the power that could be contained in this peanut. My cheerleading coach, I was terrified of her, probably peed in my pants while she was yelling at me at some point. But she taught me the value of not acting small, of getting out and really embodying who I was in life. So I read this pink quote about life being a dance floor, and I really related to that. For me, something that caused me to find my own voice was when I started dancing, when I started moving, when I started to find that rhythm and beat inside. So I wanted to really quickly talk to you about the progression of learning to dance that has helped me with that. It all starts with courage. It all starts with overcoming our fears. Then comes connection, and finally, confidence. Courage. We have tons of fears. fear of who we are, fear of who we are not, fear of others, fear of failure, fear of success. We could sit here all day and list them. But when we step out onto something like a dance floor, we have to get over that. We have to find the courage in us to say, it doesn't matter what I look like, I have to move to this song. When that song starts to play, I have to move. I have no choice. It doesn't matter what you think. And there's also stepping into who we fully are and connecting with someone else in order to do that. Connection, civil spaces. Don't have time to talk about trails. But walkable urbanism, spaces like this that bring people together, storefronts, porches, places that encourage people to step into who they are, reach out to others. The dance floor is one of them. Reaching out, and the importance of doing so in a very intentional manner. The way that people here reached out to me last year. There's inviting someone onto the dance floor. There's doing it in a way that says, hey, do you want to come dance? I don't know. We could do that. Or there's a way to approach somebody, which we learn in dancing. Would you like to dance with me? Of course he would. And then I take his hand, and I would lead him onto the dance floor, connecting as human beings. There's leading and there's following, and these don't have to be male and female roles, and this is not an exchange and a giving up of power. Leadership in dancing is established by getting out of the way. That makes a good leader in dancing. When we are dancing with a lady or someone who is following us, we don't force her to dance. We get out of her way, and we allow her to be empowered and complete the step. Surrendering. That's what it takes to make something like a dip happening. Not guessing what's happening next, but surrendering to the movement and letting it flow for us. The final step here is confidence, realizing that I am okay. My unique, quirky peanut shape is perfectly okay, and I have something to give. You have something to give, and there's no one else who can give it except for you. You are uniquely wired to give something to this world. So your dance floor could be anywhere. It could be speaking, it could be running, it could be dancing, it could be music. I don't care what it is, but I encourage you to find your dance floor and get out there. So I did quote Steve Jobs because he had a very powerful talk about the importance of finding your voice and having the courage. In the middle here, he says, don't let the noise of other opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. And that is how we begin to change the world. So you really can't be anyone else but you. And I turn to Pink again. I think she's very insightful, who has a very powerful quote here at the end of that song. I say, don't run from yourself. That's no way to live. Lift your hands in the air so that life can begin. Get your ass on the dance floor now. And that is my challenge to you. So we are very quickly going to put this into practice because practice is everything. This is how we're going to create muscle memory into stepping who we are. So I'm going to have you all stand up out of your chairs. We all found a little beat in us. I'm going to put this down. And we're going to play a song. And what I want you to do is just follow my movements a little bit. And then when I turn around, I want you to either turn around yourselves or turn to your neighbor, offer your hand, and get out of their way so that they can do a turn. So actually, Mark, would you be able to help me out with this? Start our music. We're going to practice. All right. So everyone can turn in a circle. Now turn to a person next to you. Offer your hand. One of you turn. Take turns. Back to the front, and we're just gonna move our hands. Nice. See, no one can tell me that they don't have rhythm. All right, back to our. excellent dancing and connecting. So I encourage you to find that in you, find that beat in you, no matter how funky and peanut-shaped it is. Find it, embody it, go out and get your own ass on the dance floor. Thanks.